Tarot readings, 30,000, right?
Readings in general, not just tarot.
Oh, readings in general. He always corrects me on that, I forget. Tarot sticks in my mind. There around 30,000. He's traveled the U.S.,
Sure.
West Coast, and different areas. And I asked him to be on the show today. Sorry, I was getting set up here. Today is our first day that we're set up on YouTube. So you'll be able to find our show's video version on YouTube. You can also find our show on Facebook Live under Adam Tajuddin, or you can also find us on UltraLife, the show about relationships and life. Oh. So I'm going to turn this over to Russ so he can talk a little bit while I fix this. Russ, tell us a little bit about your experience with astrology and tarot and why you're an expert in this field. And I'll fix this. Sorry about that.
Oh, well,
sorry about that, guys.
42 years of being a professional astrologer, studying for about 45 years, I guess. Worked with a lot of great people, come to understand a lot of things about mind science. I feel like I'm repeating myself because I've kind of gone over all this stuff again.
Well, this is for the listeners and the people watching who've never, ever seen or heard of it before.
Yeah, you get into these studies for all different kinds of reasons. Some people just want to, understand about crystals and the tarot cards and do astrology and kind of dabble in it and see what it has to offer, gain kind of an understanding of it through, certain fascinations that some people have with it. Others aren't so inclined in those pursuits, but a lot of different reasons to get involved in it. Unfortunately, a lot of trauma is probably associated with a lot of people's interests, or to become, very involved with it, because you have to figure out some things about yourself and about life if you have certain conditions that come along, like a death of a parent or divorce of parents. All different kinds of things can lead a person into wanting to figure out a little bit more in depth what's taking place. It just depends on the individual, from that regard. But for me, I needed answers that weren't necessarily given to me in psychology, and I wasn't really getting them. And that was a long time ago. A lot of things are much more clear for people now than they were, 45 years ago when I started pursuing it. The veils are a little thinner. There's a little bit more, understanding about things, and I appreciate that people have a lot more knowledge probably now, very easily accessible, that a lot of people, gave a lot of their efforts to, as early as the 1870s, along the spiritual metaphysical kind of reemergence that kind of perhaps peaked out in the 19th century, and a lot of people were very interested in it at the beginning of the 20th, and it carried on through with the flower children, if you will. They kind of kept it all going. They saw the logic in the planetary locations and things of this nature. So that was that way. If I can't speak necessarily to the 20-year-old folks now and what draws them to it, but I think it's similar things. You go to college and you get exposed to Buddha, you get exposed to different philosophies, different ideas, and metaphysics is just one of those things that once you kind of get clear of the home brain and you kind of start moving into your own brain, you start to discover all these things you never really thought about before. And astrology is one of those things to tap into to gain self-realization. Because for me, to gain self-realization and to have a certain self-mastery of self is really where the true successes come from, not other people, not your boss. Of course, it does take place that way, but it does come from your inner self, your self-realization, which is going to make you a happier person through knowing yourself better. It's going to help you to understand other people better through understanding yourself better. So I think that's really the motivation behind metaphysics, is self-realization.
So astrology, metaphysics, tarot, readings.
Numerology.
When you say readings, what do you mean when you say readings? I have like 20 questions to ask you from that whole thing, but I'm not going to ask them all.
Okay.
When you say readings, what kind of other readings do you do, and how does that go with the metaphysical?
Readings means that you have your chart prepared, or you have your tarot cards read, or someone gives you a spiritual reading. And that just means it's a conversation, It's not like psychology. It's not exactly conversation, because you come to see what the reader wants to reveal to you, not tell the psychologist all of your issues. So it's different in that regard. I do most of the talking, and you absorb it and you ask questions, as they come along. But it's not you gotta spill the beans for me to be able to give you a reading and have it be relevant to you in your life, for sure.
There's a solar eclipse on my birthday this year. I saw that yesterday. That should be a big deal.
Solar eclipses are always big.
On my birthday.
They always influence. He's a Leo. That's why it's so special.
Oh yeah, I forgot it's the sun. I forgot the sun. It'd be special on anyone's birthday.
So it always indicates your solar journey until the next eclipse and your lunar journey till the next eclipse. And so that's a 6-month event happening. So whatever house it involves, whether it be values and commitments or relationships or career or home or any of these different areas, that's the area that would be stimulated by the eclipse. That's what makes them important. And it's been 60 years since, or 55 years since it went through the USA, so everybody's all hyped up on that. The motels and hotels are doing great business.
Oh yeah, I saw something for it. I was like, oh, that might be kind of fun depending on what it was.
If you plan in advance.
Plan in advance, a group of friends,
Yeah, it's a good scene. Just like 2 hours. It's going to be 2 minutes and 14 seconds dark.
Drugs, rock and roll.
Don't know about
what is
that.
It called? Rock and roll, drugs. I can't even remember.
Yeah, you forgot sex.
I forgot about sex. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so we have the 7 steps for you to use astrology in your life. Number 1. What would you say the number 1
Gain self-realization. I already laid it on them. Gain self-realization, self-mastery first. Everything can fall in line from there. Otherwise, there's all kinds of jagged edges and all kinds of dilemmas, and we all have an ego, and sometimes it flares up and kind of gets in the way. So the second most important thing is to understand the energy that you have, the energy that's going on around you.
So number 1 be gain self-realization, and then number 2 would be understanding energy.
Yeah, because you're part of a larger picture. You're part of a very energetic. You're just about a bunch of energetic, vibrational, electromagnetic energies and gravitational pulls and all these kind of things that really stimulate the organs of your body, which then secretes all of who you are. So the planets are connected to the glands. So you can do medical astrology, and certainly we did before, the last couple hundred years. Before that there was a lot of astrology medicine, because you can see all the glands. Saturn's the kidneys, and liver is ruled by Jupiter as an example. So you can go into that, although astrologers don't. They refer people to medical doctors. They don't try to, I don't try to prescribe medical things to a person. I can tell them a little bit of stuff, and if they've already been to the doctor, really, by the time they come and see me, they've already been to the doctor and had all that case, and they just want to know if some things can lighten, because people that have problems, they can kind of amp up for a while, and then they'll kind of subside for a while. So it kind of follows a rhythm, and the person's always happy to realize when they're going under some positive influences that will kind of ease the pain for them a little bit. So you can look into that, and there are certain health practitioners. Dave out there on 39th South and 9th East or so, his pharmacy.
Dave's Nutrition.
Yep, he uses a little astrology for interpreting the ailments that a person might have. So a person wants to understand that they're part of a bigger picture, so that they can gain self-realization and not just think that everything ends, with their pitfalls or lessons or things that they're trying to overcome. Kind of help to get over the poor me syndrome sometimes.
Poor me. The victim.
Some of that stuff.
The victim.
Certainly it's all in there. It comes out in our relationships. And so the next one I'll talk about is overcoming personal obstacles.
So you already talked about 3?
Yeah, I just
skipping. We're rearranging.
Overcoming personal obstacles. All humans suffer blockages, and whether it's emotional blocks, mental blocks, there's a lot of ailments that people get through tension, migraine, headaches, all these kind of things, and of course those are kind of set in, and that takes a little while to move those things along. But when I had my migraines from the age of 15 to 17, it was definitely associated with the astrological aspect that I was going through. And as soon as that aspect kind of peaked, my migraines were gone also. So people enjoy having someone see the light at the end of the tunnel. And often the client comes just as they've seen a glimpse of the tunnel. Instead of coming when they're not feeling worth a darn, they come after they start to feel a little better, when they kind of crawl out of it, if you will. So we have a lot of blockages. They're indicated in our natal charts. They're indicated in the arguments we have with our spouses. They're indicated in the problems we have with our bosses. They're indicated through all the generosity that comes from those two areas as well. So it comes from all different 12 houses, all different areas of life. And, you know, depending on the individual, all Sages aren't going to have a block in the third house.
All what?
All Sagittarians aren't going to, you know, it doesn't fall into line like that. It's entertaining that you can read a daily horoscope, and 3 or 4 times a month it really speaks to it. And that's like the beginning. You know, it's the fortune cookie. Wow, where can you go from here with all these things? So, you know, the sun sign books and all that is kind of like the beginning, and people are pretty fascinated by trying to line up, you know, their 50-year relationship on a general astrological book, but they, you know, it's done anyway, and oftentimes quite successful. But so mental obstacles, you know, some people are more selfish than others, and, you know, and sometimes maybe they're not even aware that they have a personal obstacle of selfishness. So
what is that? I mean, I had it when I was younger. I was an only child, but I worked, and I don't know if that was the reason, right? It's a good way to say that's the reason, but I had to work to get to the point that I wasn't selfish. Or I don't think I'm selfish, who knows? I know I'm doing selfless things now, for sure. But what is it that has people so self-involved, so focused on themselves?
Well, you're trying to be self-realized, which doesn't really mean that you're self-absorbed. Self-realization means that through, you know, gaining more philosophical insights about things, which is going to help you be able to notice other people and learn from other people. You know, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but, you know, the point I'm trying to make is, if you have the self-realization, if you've learned about your feelings and where you might be selfish, if you've learned where you get really easily distracted in your mental aspects, and you've got ADD, and you'd like to figure out some way to cope with it or deal with it, all these things are known in the astrology. There's really nothing too mysterious, you know, about life. Otherwise, you know, we wouldn't have it and deal with all the stuff that's there. And a lot of people,
we wouldn't have life, or we wouldn't have the problem.
People are pretty unaware of some of the things, especially when they get kind of pushed into a corner and they got all kinds of, they're just beset by one issue after another. The person who, father dies, husband dies, brother dies. I mean, all of these unusual kind of circumstances that really put people through their paces. You know, astrology and, you know, yoga, I always, you know, all people in metaphysics say a person should meditate and a person should do yoga. And when you do meditate and when you do yoga, you're unlocking your own personal inner light and bringing about self-realization. So it's not just astrology being self-realization oriented. Everything is, number one, self-realization oriented.
Number 2, understanding energy.
Well, that's what I put up there.
Sure. And then number 3 would be overcoming personal obstacles. I repeat.
So that you can. Yes, I understand. That's fine.
You know.
That's fine. So that you can get a good view of it and realize, man, I overcame that obstacle. You know, we do it in our daily life. You know, we get around our friends and say, yeah, I overcame that. And so we know that it's taking place. Astrology is a way of kind of getting ahead of the curve. You can be way ahead of the curve. I'll do a reading and lay out your next 10 years. I'm not going to predict exactly what's going to happen, but I know that, you know, you will have this happen. This will take place. I won't predict that it's going to be Sally, and I won't predict, you know, that it's going to be that job. But I will have no fear that the energy will have to run its course, because it's been chosen by the person as a lesson to be learned by the time, date, and place that they were born.
So you're talking about reincarnation when you say that?
Yeah. Astrology is a reincarnation science all the way, because we have stress in our charts. And if we're a new babe infant with no no crimes at all within the soul, then why are they born with all these conflicts? So there's got to be an inherent coming from someplace, heading someplace else, because you wouldn't just, be victimized by having your own personal dilemmas that you've chosen for your life. It'd be kind of unfair. So really, a person isn't really born for the first time, probably. Not this stage of the game, probably.
Okay. So number 4, you'd say is
timing is everything. Let's see what I write here. Placement of the planets for better results. Timing is everything. Planting. So you wouldn't plant tomatoes in a snowstorm. That's not good timing. But people will plant tomatoes 10 days before the snowstorm because they don't think it'll snow. Okay. So timing is everything on planting, and your life is like planting seeds. And you can see how good of a planter you are, how patient you are with people, yourself, if you're able to wait, or if you're so impulsive and so impatient, you just really have to learn how to have self-control. So astrology can help a person gain realization, which is, the self is going to say, wow, I have no self-control, because they just became self-realized and they realize all their habits that aren't in control by themselves. So they learn their shortcomings, they learn what they really need to work on, rather than having somebody harp at them to do better. They can take a personal look at themselves rather than being a guy who, or a woman who, that's just the way they do things, kind of thing.
Oh, yes. I've had that.
We can expand.
I've had that run through my head a lot. Like, people might ask me why I'm doing a certain thing with my parents, whatever, and I've had it in my head, well, that's just the way we do things. And then I realize, well, wait, I can change that like that if I want. That doesn't have to be the way I do things. If it's not a good or positive or limiting, it doesn't even have to be good or positive or wrong. It could be just a limiting viewpoint, and then you can see out of that. There's many, many different things that could spring from that.
Yes. We have to keep on moving, even if we got some discomforting things going on. We have to keep on moving. But if a person has spent 50 years on this planet, they have had a good decade totally wiped out by difficult aspects. So they would learn, such difficulties. And if you're married, then you have a spouse that you can kind of relate to and kind of keep you motivated. Sometimes difficult aspects cause a person to be kind of alienated. How many relationships do you know where he hasn't been out of the basement in 3 years, or she hasn't been out of the basement in 3 years, and then all of a sudden they're back to communicating, they're going out dancing again and things like this. So things, the wave pattern is different for everybody, but sometimes the wave is a very good sized tsunami, and other times it's just a 2-monther in the case of, the moon affecting your chart in some way that will just cause some dissension or cause some really great blessing to come to you via money or communications with brothers and sisters or relationships. So it's a very varying thing. I mean, you can have a couple of things that aren't so hot with 3 things that are really hot, and you got to pay attention to the stressful ones and realize you're going to be reaping over here. So it can be seen to be confusing, and that's why you go get a reading, so you can kind of put that mind science together with all the really active brain power that we have. I think a lot of people were just conditioned not to use their head.
Yes, a lot of people.
And not speak up.
It's also just not thinking. I mean, if you're my friend, I've even done it to you. I will make you think. I'll send you text and code. You have to think about it. And I want people to think. But it's also for me. I want the interaction to be able to be higher than average, because I don't just want to be involved in a conversation that's, so how's your car? Do you like your car? How's that running? Yeah, I saw the newer model. I want conversations that are bigger than that.
Well, small talking people, it's really good to have, that ability. And, while you're on your way to those deeper subjects again. Now, I think here's another misconception people have. I think they have a thing like fate,
So that's number 5.
Like somebody's going to hand you your fate. You're not free to choose your fate. Well, I believe that even through hardship, it's kind of like the fate that we're living. Well, we kind of have to live that. Here we are. It's like There's no mystery. Here I am. We can run away from it. We can try to drink it away or something like this. But here we are. What do we want to do with it? So, your fate is not. Your fate is determined by your personal choices. Thus, you create your fate. And I think that a lot of people, until they've expanded a bit, think that they just got dealt some crappy cards, and somebody's at fault for this.
I usually blame you.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
Now that since I met you, I blame you.
My guides are way up on you. I got you blocked. So it's just a fascinating thing. Your choices determine your fate. Your partner, you chose your partner, so we can't really gripe too hard about partner. Maybe you didn't see partner that well, when you got together or something, because unfortunately people get together and then they break away, and it's not my say on if it's good or bad. It's just this is the way things operate. People get kind of bored. I love what Margaret Mead said back in the 70s, probably before that, but she died in the 70s. She said marriage worked great when people died at 50. Because you work to leave your children and everything, and then you're gone.
Yeah, but people get divorced way before 50.
But now we live to be 80, so you got.
Yeah, but before that, people get divorced at 30.
I'm just saying that if you looked at the, what it is, certainly some people were living to an older age, but just think about the comment. We're talking about one of the great anthropologists of our time who made the statement. So with astrology, you can view your blueprint or your horoscope. You can view the life you chose. You can learn to honor yourself, respect yourself, and take responsibility for yourself. Because until you do, it's going to be somebody else's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that comes through self-realization. So you don't pass the buck onto someone else. You have your self-mastery. You realize you're part of a larger picture. Timing is everything. The best thing you can do when you're upset is take a walk rather than start a conversation. This is a way to overcome personal obstacles. We all suffer blocks, and we can get rid of them, and they come back again. So we have to get rid of them again. Life's a journey, and it's you have to have a lot of fun in the mind science, just what you're going through, and every once in a while you just have to look at somebody less fortunate than yourself and get over it. Get to the real deal.
Yeah, I've had a harder time with that more lately.
But your planetary location by sign and house indicates your fate, the fate that you have chosen in your past, and is somewhat predictable by energy, your future. You chose the whole cycle, the whole chain of events. There's nothing that could really be said to you that you wouldn't be able to kind of take in and relate to unless you're not very self-realized, which is the point of astrology, is to help a person in those ways.
Well, you can make that change now, too. You can change what you're choosing right now.
Right now.
Doing drugs or being pissy with someone or ignoring someone or being a victim, you can make that change right now. It might not, sometimes it can happen that instant and you stick with it forever. Sometimes it will take work for you to work that way, but as long as you have your compass set in that direction, you'll always fall back to that instead of the usual habit. You might do the usual habit, but then you come back to what you want to be, what you choose.
It's a two-way street. It's karmic, which means law of cause and effect. What I send returns. That should be enough to keep a person really squared away. Uh-oh, I'm going to send that off. That's going to come back to me. Oh my gosh. So they don't have a belief in that what they do has any ramification.
So we have number 1, gain self-realization. Number 2, understanding energy. Number 4, overcoming personal obstacles. Number 3, timing is everything. Number 5, fate is determined by a person's choice. Number 6,
planetary location by sign and house indicate your fate, past and future. Each house represents the self, the personal values, communication, home, creative expression, work, health and money, relationships, transformational things, philosophies and travel and dreams, career successes, friends and goals and objectives, and then the subconscious mind. So there's 12 pieces of the pie, and you put the 10 basic planets in there, and how the planets interrelate with each other tells you if you're brilliant mental. Of course, everybody is if they can tap it, because it's all in the subconscious. But it tells you if you're argumentative and you have a hard time being satisfied, or if you're a very constructive, loving person and you have a heart of gold. It'll be indicated. It's indicated if you're really a great poet, in your heart, and you have a real gift for writing. So the arts, every career goal, from construction people, they're doing their life and they've got their ups and downs they're going through in their relationships. So I'm not trying to be heavy into any particular career endeavors. And as a matter of fact, in my doing readings, I've found that as high as 90% of the people are working in the field that their chart indicates as their real success area. So I understand that people do make very good choices and they are in tune. Astrology is just a way to hop things up and just kind of have another jazzed up conversation about things. Is when I'm on my tours back in the past, people were very excited to come and just get hopped up and jazzed up by getting 2 or 3 readings from different people, and it kind of just feeds the brain. That's really how people look at it that are real involved in it. It's brain feed.
So how about number 7? Because we're getting short on time.
I don't know what number 7 is. Let's see. Well, again, just to reiterate, because I think I've done 8 or 9, okay. But you can, job interviews, here's how it illustrates itself. You wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to work. You get your coffee, you're feeling pretty good. You get a flat tire on the way. 90 seconds. Then you finally get to work, and somebody's brought you a donut, and they've even got a flower for you because you've had a hard time. And then at noon, you have a great lunch, everything goes real smooth. Then you get a cranky client that calls at 3 p.m. and it kind of disturbs you for an hour. Then you go home and you see the kids and everything's kind of fine again. We'll just leave it at that. But every day has a wave running through it, and you can keep track of professionals keep track of it to that minute detail.
Well, thank you Russ for being on here again. Appreciate you being on here and sharing that with us. You can review this to get the steps, and also we'll be posting number 7 later for you. I'll put all 6 steps up there, 7 steps. And watch for our shows tomorrow, 1 at noon with Jenica on how to stay and get motivated. And then our second show at 5 o'clock will be with Kevin Armand, who is has done over 4,000 public speaking, and we'll be talking about his books and public speaking. And the second guest will be Kathy Keat Thompson, talking about her retreat and the things that you'll learn in that, and why would she be teaching those things? What benefits you'd be getting from that? You can also listen to UltraLife at Blog Talk Radio UltraLife. It's also a podcast. I'm not sure how you find it yet, but it's on there. I know it is automatically. You'll also find us on YouTube now for under Ultra Perform, the company that sponsors us, my company. Ultra Perform supplements, and also thank you to Shopbox. See you guys later. Have a good day, good night, good evening, wherever you're at. Bye.